They found the tools long before the bodies. Hidden under years of earth, buried deep and cold, lay plastic containers brimming with weapons, cash, rope, and instruments meant for one purpose: violence. Not scattered after the fact, but buried before the first killing. This was the method of Israel Keyes, not a killer driven by impulse, but by long-term design. January 7th, 1978, marks the birth of a man who would evade detection for more than a decade, slipping across the United States with an anonymity so profound that even neighbors and associates had no idea of the terror he would unleash. Keyes was not a name anyone was looking for when he was first arrested in March 2012. But by then, investigators were beginning to understand that this ordinary-looking man was responsible for crimes that spanned at least a decade in dozens of states. It began with one young woman. On February 1, 2012, 18-year-old Samantha Koenig did not return home from her job at a coffee stand in Anchorage, Alaska. Surveillance cameras captured her last moments, closing up for the night, walking toward her car, then nothing. The surveillance footage offered no suspect, just a vanishing point where a life should have continued. But something unusual soon surfaced. Samantha's debit card was used at ATMs along Interstate 10, first in Arizona, then New Mexico, and ultimately in Texas, tracking a path that seemed random but would become crucial evidence. In the parking lot of a Cotton Patch restaurant in Lufkin, Texas, a routine traffic stop changed everything. The driver was 34-year-old Israel Keyes, and in his vehicle were Samantha's ID, her bank card, her cell phone, and the first clues that connected a murder to a man no one had previously suspected. But the chilling revelations were just beginning. Over the next months, investigators conducted more than 40 hours of interviews with Keyes, teasing out details that would unravel the scope of his crimes, piece by piece. 2 buried caches were recovered, one in Alaska and another near Blake Falls Reservoir in New York, filled with weapons, rope, money, and tools seemingly intended to facilitate killings and body disposal. Keyes admitted to burying additional caches in Wyoming and Washington, evidence that his murders were not spontaneous but predicated on long-term planning. Yet these were only the visible fragments of a much larger, darker mosaic. Keyes had stalked Samantha's routine, abducted her from her workplace, and kept her alive briefly before killing, a departure from his earlier victims whose stories were less clearly documented. After her murder, he kept her remains, took a family vacation, returned, photographed her body beside a newspaper to fake life, and then demanded ransom, a grotesque blend of calculation and performative cruelty. But Samantha was not his only confirmed victim. In June 2011, Bill and Lorraine Currier of Essex, Vermont, vanished without explanation during a road trip. Keyes later admitted he broke into their home, bound them, and killed them. Their bodies have never been found. Authorities also believe Keyes likely murdered 49-year-old Deborah Feldman, a sex worker from New Jersey whose disappearance in 2009 coincided with his travels and whose image Keyes reacted to during interviews, though he never fully confessed. But beyond these confirmed cases, Keyes offered investigators tantalizing hints and frustrating omissions. He told agents he had killed 5 people in Washington state between 2001 and 2006, burying or submerging bodies in lakes such as Lake Crescent, a deep, cold body of water where remains may never be found. Yet despite these confessions and fragments of truth, Keyes often remained vague, offering half-answers, selective admissions, and sometimes outright refusals to name victims. For 7 months after his arrest, law enforcement chiseled away at his defenses, hoping for clarity, for answers, for closure. But on December 1st, 2012, Keyes wrote his final chapter himself. Concealing a razor blade in his cell, he cut his wrists and strangled himself with a bedsheet, dying before he could face trial or fully disclose his crimes. Under his jail bed, investigators found bizarre drawings, 11 skulls and a pentagram, drawn in blood. Authorities believe these represent his total number of victims, though that number remains debated. That was the story as it unfolded, partial, fragmented, and filled with unanswered questions. Now we lift the curtain. Phase 2 begins. With Keyes' death, investigators were left to reconstruct crimes without the chance to cross-examine, to test, or to challenge the killer's own testimony. FBI agents reviewed thousands of travel records, credit card transactions, rental car data, and interviews, matching Keyes' movements with cold cases and disappearances. They confirmed the murders of Samantha Koenig, Bill and Lorraine Currier, and identified Deborah Feldman as a likely fourth victim. But the remaining victims have no names attached. Some may be buried near places Keyes frequented decades earlier, in Washington state, where he lived from 2001 to 2007, in Wyoming near the Green River, and throughout remote trails, campgrounds, and lakes where his footprints briefly touched the earth. Investigators believe Keyes did not know his victims, a departure from most serial killers who develop a pattern, a preference, or a type. Instead, he selected victims at random, based on opportunity and isolation, making it nearly impossible to trace him through behavioral patterns alone. And the caches he buried, weaponry, tools for restraint, and body disposal, were not haphazard. They were strategic, placed years ahead of need, across states, waiting silently for his return. Without bodies, without names, and without key physical evidence, the FBI continues to seek public assistance, urging anyone with information about possible unsolved cases linked to Keyes' travels to come forward. Some investigators estimate that those 11 skulls found beneath his bed may represent only a portion of his victims, suggesting even that number could be a conservative estimate. Even now, authorities examine cold cases ranging from unexplained disappearances to bodies found without identification, trying to match them with Keyes' documented timeline. But without Keyes himself to clarify, the fragments he left are both guidance and frustration, illuminating some truths while concealing others. Israel Keyes forced investigators and society alike to confront an uncomfortable reality. A predator can operate without pattern, without clear motive, and without detection for years, hiding in plain sight while constructing horrors that leave barely a trace. The search for answers continues, not just in FBI files and crime boards, but in the hearts of families still waiting to know what truly happened to their loved ones. If you found this extended investigative exploration compelling, like, subscribe, and share to support more deep dives into complex cases.